You're listening to Inside Real Estate with Irv Tremblay on Newstalk 980.
Thanks for holding over the break, Irv. Much appreciated.
No problem, Dave.
Now, and you made a very good point of this, and we both kind of jotted it down here before we went to the break. Talking about why listings expire, some of the common reasons. A lot of listings expired, say, December 31st, 2010, kind of that magic number. And we're walking through the list, and one of the things you talked about was access, and sometimes it's very difficult. That's not going to help you sell your home. And we were talking about signs, the lawn sign, and why it's important. And you actually had an example that you wanted to use here.
Well, here's an example, and a sign seems like a simple thing, an old-fashioned thing. You know, everybody concentrates on the internet these days. Sign's important. You want your neighbors to know it's selling. You want everybody to know it's selling. So here's a good example. We listed a property last year, early in the year, I think February. I think you remember it was the first home, residential home, resale home that sold for over $1 million. So I listed it on a Friday morning. We had ordered the signs the day before, one in the front, one in the back. You know, and I ordered them the day before, paid extra to get them up. Those early in the morning, 8:30 in the morning, got the sign guy out there, and had the virtual tour done. Sign go up, they went up in the front and the back by 8:30 or 9 in the morning. And the seller said to me, well, is that really important, get these signs up right away? Sure it is. Why? I says, well, neighbors drive by, you got a prestigious house, great street. We want all the neighbors to know. And also, I'm going to call them. Not only going to have a sign, but I'm going to call them as well and tell them that you're selling your house and how much it's worth and what a great house. And do they know anybody? So, agents shows it the next day. A neighbor, and this doesn't happen all the time, but a neighbor bought the house.
Wow.
And they always had their eye on that house, and they saw the sign going up at 8:30, they called their agent. Now, that's a pretty good example, but signs help. So often you see these expired listings, no sign, because the agent, as an order taker, oh, you don't want a sign? They didn't explain, because most sellers will put a sign up if I explain it that way. If I say often, I get really good buyers driving a neighborhood. They're a very motivated buyer, and they're driving neighborhoods, especially when the market's hot and there's not many listings. They spot signs. Or buyers often don't buy what they say they're going to buy, and it might not have been on the list that their agent gave them, but they like the look of the house, and maybe it's $30,000 more than they thought it was, but they call on that sign. And maybe they get the $30,000 extra and buy it. But signs are very important. If you explain that and communicate that to a seller, most sellers put a sign up. I can't tell you the last listing I ever took that I didn't convince the seller to put a sign up. I would spend, if you said to me, well, Irv, I don't want a sign, it would be a 10-minute conversation.
It'd be a long
if it
conversation
had to be,
if it needed
before
to
I
be.
left there, that the sign wasn't on. Lockbox, very important. No lockbox, you have to go and get the keys from the seller's agent, does not work. Sellers will say, well, Irv, I don't want a lockbox. The lockboxes are very secure. We can tell who is in the property. We can download them from the internet. You can tell what agent, what company, what time they entered the home. They're very, very secure. So lockbox is important. That access is very, very important. And also you can keep track of the showings for your feedback. So that's another thing. But let's get to the real meat and cause of expired listings. The most important two things that cause homes not to sell: price and commission.
See, no, price, okay, that makes perfect sense, but commission as well?
Sure. So if you think agents are weak talking about signs and access and lockbox, they are extremely weak when they go over to a listing and the lady at the listing says, I've got my house listed privately for $725. I want to list it for $725, Irv. Do you want to take the listing? Now, if you think that lockbox makes an agent nervous, how about telling that lady that, here, I want to show you and I want to get you to understand why your property is only worth $635. Do you know what most agents do?
Sure. Yeah, okay.
725.
Order taker.
Exactly. So what you have to do to price the house correctly to cause it to sell is do a great job on pricing and be able to get the seller to understand the price that will cause it to sell. They can make a decision if they can live with that, but that's my job. Price is truly important. So when you look at these expires on December 31st, so many of them went with, let's say they did interview more than one agent. Most of them didn't, but let's say they did. Often they go with the one that gave them the highest price and the least commission. The two things don't go together. So you list your house high, you want the 400 agents to sell it at more than market value, but, we don't want to pay them though. Those two things don't go together. So you have to be competitive in your commission. You have to be very competitive in your price as well, or the house isn't going to sell. And if you go through those expired listings, you can see all the time that people list high and offer a low commission. The appointment I'm going out on today is an example. I'm going out on another expired listing today. Commission is lower than all of the competitive commissions, and the price is higher. Those two things have to be addressed with the seller to get that property sold.
So you have an agent who's representing a buyer, and they've got the list. They're going through the MLS system, of course. They've narrowed it down based on what the client is looking for, and this home pops up on the list, let's say. Overpriced by $80,000, $90,000, the example you were using. It's not $725, it's $635. Commission is low. An agent representing a buyer is going to take a look at that and go, okay, it's overpriced, number one. They probably won't be interested. And even if they are, I'm going to make less money from the sale.
Absolutely.
Disincentive times two for an agent representing a buyer to come and view your home.
Two things, if all things are equal and you're selling a property and you're getting paid more to sell this property, most agents are going to sell the one that they get paid the most money. And that's just the way of the world. Some sellers say that to me, and I remember listing a property a couple of years ago, and the seller said, well, I don't really believe that. I listed the property, and I actually got an email. I couldn't believe an agent did this. Emailed me within 24 hours. Looks like a great property. Let me know when your seller is offering a competitive commission, and I might show it. So, yes, it does happen. So that price and commission.
That's human nature on both sides, though. That's human nature on the seller's side, where they want a high price and a low commission, and it's human nature on the agent's side, who's bringing in a buyer potentially going, yeah, competitive price and high commission.
Sure. When two people get together, when an agent gets together and a seller gets together at a meeting to list their property, when that happens, both people are selling. They are. They're both people are selling. When I go out to list a property, I hope that my training and my communication and my ability to guide that seller will help me sell them on doing the right things.
If you don't do the right things, the odds aren't great that you're going to sell your property. Irv, the time goes quickly.
Right.
The website, and I've said before, a great resource for people who want to get some more information, www.irvsells.ca. That's irvsells, all one word, .ca, or you can give Irv a call at 790-3753, 790-3753. Irv, always good to turn the key with you, my friend.
You too, Dave.
You've been listening to Inside Real Estate with Irv Tremblay from Century 21.